Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Desert. I am Walter Gendell, and it gives me great joy to be your worship associate this morning. Before we begin, please take a moment to silence your cell phones before they start ringing. As we begin our service, I think it is important that we continue to acknowledge that we gather today on the unceded lands of the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla people, and that we also strongly commit to grow in our understanding and relationship with this land and with the people who inhabited it and nurtured it before our arrival. In this congregation, we strive to honor the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And what that means to all of you is that all of you are welcomed. You are welcome no matter your sexual orientation or gender identity, your age or your size, whether you are rich or whether you are poor. You are welcomed regardless of your immigration status, your race, religion, or culture, wherever you come from and whomever you love. We welcome all those who will learn and grow with us as we commit together to embrace the rich and beautiful diversity of the world. I invite all of you to help build a community centered in justice, in compassion, and in love. We are glad you are with us this morning, whether you are here in the sanctuary or at home. We are very grateful for your presence. All right. Again, welcome, and please join us for coffee after service. If you want to learn more about us or our programming, please contact the office at admin, ADMIN, at uucod.org, or visit our website, also uucod.org. And now, please join me as Reverend Ian rings the Tibetan bowl and we listen to the wonderful Eddie Clement play our music for centering to start the service.
Good morning. And welcome again. I am Ian Riddell, and I have the honor and joy of serving this congregation as its minister. However you found us, however many times you've been here with us in person or online, welcome. We are a congregation grounded in our commitment to love and an evolving tradition that celebrates the richness and beauty of individual lives and commits to working together to weave a tapestry made stronger and more vibrant by our collaboration and by the sharing of our lives and our visions for a thriving, loving, and just future for all of life. We begin today with the words of Bengali poet and philosopher Rabindranath Tagore. The same stream of life that runs through my veins, night and day, runs through the world and dances in rhythmic measure. It is the same life that shoots in joy through the dust of the earth in numberless blades of grass and breaks into tumultuous waves of leaves and flowers. It is the same life that is rocked in the ocean cradle of birth and death, in ebb and in flow. I feel my limbs are made glorious by the touch of this world of life, and my pride is from the life throb of ages dancing in my blood this moment. With that dancing in our beings, friends, let's worship together today. And will you rise in body or in spirit, please, as we sing together our opening hymn, For the Beauty of the Earth. For the beauty of the earth, for the splendor of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies. Source of all, to thee we raise this, our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of ear and eye, for the heart and mind's delight, for the mystic harmony, linking sense to sound and sight. Source of all, to thee we raise this, our hymn of grateful praise. For the wonder of each hour, of the day and of the night, hill and dale and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars of light. Source of all, to thee we raise this, our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human care, neighbor, sibling, parent, child, for the kinship we all share, for all gentle thoughts and mild. Source of all, to thee we raise thee, our hymn of grateful praise. Thank you.
And now if you'll join us in the chalice lighting and union aspiration. As Reverend Ian lights out chalice, please join me in the words which you can see on the screens above. We light this chalice in the knowledge of what happens when we harness the power of fire. Fire always causes change. Fire warms and feeds. Fire destroys and eliminates. With a bit of attention and care, fire works with us to reveal, to show, literally to illuminate. Fire helps us see and to survive. We light this fire because we are in need of change, we are in need of warmth and sustenance, and we need to clear a path ourselves and our world. May this cup of captured fire be a symbol today of our passion, our care, our brilliance in the face of great need. Like fire, we are powerful. Like fire, we create change. Now for our BIOPOC candle lighting, I would now like to invite Sandy Sladen to join me as we light our BIOPOC candles. And if you can say the words on the screen. We light these candles in solidarity with Black, Indigenous, and other people of color as we journey together toward spiritual wholeness. May we, as a beloved community, work to dismantle racism and all forms of oppression. May we live at our principles so that justice, dignity, and equity for all prevail. Thanks, Sandy. So now this is the part of our service where I invite the ushers forward for our collection. As you know, it is through your passion, commitment, and boundless energy, in addition to your financial support, that allows His church to do all the good works that we do. So please, continue to help support the important work of our church and give as generously as you can.
These are the joys and sorrows that are in our hearts today, and we know we carry with us many joys, many sorrows, many pains, many pieces of strife with us from the world at large. The world goes on even if we pause for a moment, and so we hold those in our hearts. We're going to watch a video now, listen to a video with Leah Morris and Adam Pod. This was created for the UU Climate Justice Revival, which we are sort of a part of this weekend. And so it was written and composed and performed for that purpose. And I invite you to take a deep breath and rest in the beauty of this music. When we return, we will share our prayers and meditation. that music and those words in our hearts, friends, will you join me in a time of prayer, meditation, contemplation? The word prayer is not a word that you use. I invite you to lift your heart and your spirits, to hold in your heart that which you believe you are part of, that which is larger than you, be it community, nation, perhaps not nation, community, universe, cosmos, whatever word you use, whatever concept you use. As we use the word pray, imagine lifting up what is in your heart and your mind, turning it over to that thing, and learning and understanding how our lives, our hands are the work of that in the world. Will you join me, friends, in a time of prayer and contemplation? Spirit of life, fire of our hearts, though they are broken but still shining, we gather together today in a world that is often full of anxiety and struggle, full of worry and fear. We know that fear stifles imagination and limits our capacity for relationships that embrace our beautiful and abundant humanity. We know that fear creates cynical cycles of supremacy and extractive relationships with each other and with our planet. Reimagining together is how we overcome fear. Reimagining together is how we build new relationships in a new era, putting love at the center. Today especially, we put love at the center of our work for climate justice. Please join us in the prayers of the people and the planet. Your response, I hope you will join in, is let us reimagine a new era together. Beginning right here in our congregation, in this room, we pray for ourselves, that we open our hearts to be companions, caring for a hurting world and committing to create a world of flourishing. And our response is, let us imagine a new era together. With reverence for the great web of life and with humility, we acknowledge our place in it. We commit to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation. And so we pray for land and ecosystems, all species, the entire natural world, and our response is, let us reimagine a new era together. We pray for justice for local frontline communities who are impacted first, worst, and longest by climate change, and who face systemic oppression. And our response is, let us reimagine a new era together. In our reimagining, we gain the capacity to recommit to communities of mutual support, which are the building blocks of an ecosystem of mutual survival. And our response is, let us imagine a new era together. We look towards each other, people of faith, of good conscience, and of spirit, leaning on one another and trusting in the hope that we create together. Let us reimagine a new era together. We make right the wrongs of the past, not by ignoring them, but by doing the difficult work of dismantling the oppressive systems and behaviors that feed our illusion of separation. May we live in a way that honors our interdependence and acts in accordance with our interconnection with all people and the planet. And our response is, let us reimagine a new era together. With humility and commitment, we acknowledge our own part in so much harm to our relations. Saltwater encroachment, dying permafrost, poison refuse of illegal mining, searing high temperatures, huge hurricanes. And our response is, let us reimagine a new era together. May we set down fear, Spirit of life. May our courage to face the intersecting systems of harm lead to the strength to create intersecting practices of love and healing so that all may flourish. And our response is, let us reimagine a new era together. Reimagining together, we build new relationships. We put love at the center of this work, and we commit. May it be so. Amen. Friends, will you join your voices together as we sing our hymn for meditation, Spirit of Life, Fuente de Amor. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Fuente de amor, ven hacia mí. Y al corazón, cántale tu compasión. Sopla al volar, sube en la mar, hasta moldear la justicia de la vida. Arráyame, fuente de amor, ven a mí, ven a mí. Friends, I think I've told you before that there is many a Sunday morning where that, for me, is the beginning of our worship together, you singing that song. So thank you for your voices and your heart in it. It is so hard to see the world around us today and not give in to fear. Setting aside politics and armed conflict, even though we understand how these crises are all interdependent, even setting those aside, it is hard to see the devastation that Hurricane Helene is wreaking in the southeast and not feel fear and anguish. It is hard to have lived through the hottest summer on record here in this desert community and not feel anxiety and fear about the future. So what if we took a moment today and chose right now to remind ourselves that we Unitarian Universalists have chosen to center love, to put love at the core of who we are, not fear, love, and who we strive to be in the world. It's part of what we're doing today. As I said a little bit earlier, around the country this weekend, Unitarian Universalists have been involved in a climate revival. Hundreds of congregations have focused their Sunday morning worship today, as we are, on our climate and renewing and reviving our commitment to learning and acting and building relationships as we face the realities of our world. And many congregations held dialogues and workshops and visioning sessions yesterday. And we had hoped to do this as well, but unlike many other congregations, our church year doesn't really fully get off the ground until a few weeks from now, although it's wonderful that you've been here all summer, thank you. And we felt like we would have more time, more volunteer availability, and do a better job of the workshop portions of the revival if we waited until later in the year for that part, when we can have more time to plan and collaborate to integrate things better with our own climate and environment work. So we're not alone in making that choice. There are many other congregations are doing the same thing. So stay tuned, and I hope you'll be willing to help in the planning and participate in the conversations and the visioning and the workshopping and the getting excited about things that will be coming. I want to share that many of the words that I've shared with you today, our prayer and our closing words, for example, come from materials generated by the UUA, by the climate justice folks for this Sunday's service, for the use of congregations. And so I have chosen to include many of those here. Centering love in our grappling with the climate brings to my mind a piece of writing by author and poet Patty Ann Rogers. Her piece called "I Hear and Behold God in Every Object, Yet Understand God Not in the Least" was published in 2008 in Portland Magazine, and these words are part of that writing. I am in love with the life of the earth, the 100 budding eyes seeking light in a water-buried nest of tadpoles, a tomato on the vine basking from blossom to ripe red, in love with our enormous, frightening sun, and all creatures basking in the light of its being, a green anole invisible on a green leaf, a yellow-striped garter snake curled on a smooth stone, in love with the fragrance of a river when a summer evening begins to cool and the cicadas and crickets strike up their buzz and jingle in the poplars and shore grasses. I'm in love with the cosmic heaven, its terrible, haunting glory, its racing explosions and dangerous maelstroms of burning rocks and dusts and great arcs of glowing gases. In love with the silence of that same sky above midnight snow, the white land and barren shadows drenched in the pale blue stillness of the moon. In love with the order of things, crystals adhering piece by icy piece, a single widening furl of campfire smoke, electrons and atoms, ocean currents and the rhythmic currents and waves of a veering flock of rice birds over the fields, the sweep of porpoises veering through the swell of ocean waves, and our own creation, the written language of musical scores, bells and drums, wax whistles and pianos, hot air balloons, bicycles, rollerblades, calculus, arboretums, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, and all Voyagers traveling to the constant night of the ocean floors or to the airless glacier peaks of mountains or into the realms of the nano world, actors, artists, acrobats, archivists, a quilt spread on the grass, supper on a quilt spread on the grass, in love with our words alone in an otherwise wordless universe as far as we know, in love with as far as we know, in love with amen. For Rogers, everything around us, everything we are part of, is worthy of love, of being in love with. Nothing is separate from the divine. Nothing that we create or interact with or imagine is disconnected from us or from the rest of the world around. There is inspiration for wonder everywhere. The thriving of life is omnipresent. Everything is holy. Another perspective from a different tradition. Sally McFaig was a feminist Christian theologian. Her thinking was grounded in the idea that the ways that we talk about that which is larger than ourselves. Now, for her and other Christians, how we talk about God is always metaphor. My colleague, the Reverend Arif Mandami, wrote about McFaig in a sermon which he created and shared as part of the resources for our climate revival, and most of the following words in this section of the sermon are his. So I want to be clear about that. One metaphor that McFaig focused on was the idea that the earth is the body of God. Remember, feminist Christian theologian, this is her language. We reflect on the fact that McFaig was writing in the 1980s, when tensions over the oil crisis had everybody thinking about ways to be more energy efficient and more energy independent. You remember those days. And when there were pervasive gathering clouds of war and global destruction in the form of nuclear weapons race, you remember those days, which meant that the specter of nuclear annihilation was very real, very present, and the sense of living within a period of existential threat was palpable. McFaig was writing into the teeth of apocalypse, Arif wrote. She was doing theology on the cusp of existential annihilation, which I think seems to feel a lot like the things we're feeling here and now. Arif continues writing that McFaig invites us to move into a place of imagination through a question. The question always is, how would we think or act differently if this was true? I think I've said this to some of you sometimes when you've struggled with what was our first principle, like how can I can't believe that about so-and-so or whoever. What would it be like if we imagined, how would we act differently if that was true? McFang knew that she was working against entrenched notions of God in her tradition, just as we are today. And instead of arguing and trying to knock an idol off its base, she said, keep your idol. Keep those ideas. Just ask this question with me. How would you think or act differently if this was true? And then she said, what if the earth was the body of God? What would we do then? How would we act then? How would we respond to the needs of our neighbors as the climate changes then? Now, many of us in our tradition, many of you in this room do not use God language. But remember that some theologians have defined God as that which is greater than us, that which we are wholly reliant upon, and that which we cannot live without, which is to say that nature, which is to say that our earth does a very good job of fitting that definition and criteria. If we are going to put anything above us and follow its call, if we're going to open our hearts in surrender to anything, and particularly knowing that what we believe shapes how we act, and how we act shapes what we believe, thinking and acting as if the earth was the body of God, however you defined that word, would be an awfully good model to live with and live within. Arif asks us to hang out in that space of imagination for a while. Can we imagine how different things would be if we behaved and acted as if we believed that the earth that we walk on, the earth that gives us everything we have, is the body of the holy? The funny thing, of course, he writes, is that we need not imagine it at all. It is literally true that we are wholly reliant on the earth, that the forces of nature are far greater than we can ever be and beyond our understanding and imagination, and that we literally cannot live without it. Western intellect has made the fundamental category error of believing that we humans are separate from that which we are inseparably a part. The earth is God, and we are intimately part of the divine's body. What would we do? What would we not do? How could we move through a world where everything is holy, where everything is sacred, where everything is a story of gratitude and interdependence? I am grateful to my colleague Arif Mandami for his writing, which I've shared with you just now. As I said, of course, many of us do not use the language of God or divine when we talk about the things we're part of that are larger than ourselves. Many of us ground our thinking, our metaphors, in the work and words of science and rational exploration. And in the quest to understand what it is that inspires and generates religious feeling in ourselves, we humans have found ourselves inspired and awed by many things. Just think back to Patty Ann Rogers. And over the course of history, there have been many who came to understand that what formed the core of their religious experience was their awe and wonder at the natural world. Many of those people have chosen to identify themselves, as I talked about last year, I think, as religious naturalists. One religious naturalist said this: "Nature is all that we know there to be. Its source is a mystery. Its dynamics generate emergent phenomena of increasing complexity, full stop. How might one find purpose and value in such a perspective?" Well, those words were written by biologist and geneticist Ursula Goodenough in her article, "Are You a Religious Naturalist Without Knowing It?" Since 1978, she was a professor of biology at Washington University and is the author of a widely used textbook on genetics. She's also an author of another book, her 1998 book, which has come out in a recent new edition, which is quite beautiful, called The Sacred Depths of Nature, was a signal event in the development of religious naturalist thought and its theological implications. She wrote this. Good Enough begins in that book, with the Big Bang and tells the tale of the origin and history of the universe, our galaxy, our planet. But most of the book focuses on the development of life from non-life and a diversity of species from single-celled organisms and the evolution of humanity. It's a great story, but how is that religious? How is Good Enough doing theology like McFaig? Well, as for being religious, Good Enough asked herself that question early in her path toward her understanding of religious naturalism. Why are people religious? And then why am I not religious? She asked. But was that true? What about the way I feel, she said, when I think about how cells work or how creatures evolve? Doesn't that feel the same as when I'm listening to the St. Matthew Passion or standing in the nave of Notre Dame? She writes, and so I profess my faith. For me, the existence of all of this complexity and awareness and intent and beauty and my ability to apprehend it serves as the ultimate meaning and the ultimate value. The continuation of life reaches around, grabs its own tail, and forms a sacred circle that requires no further justification, no creator, no superordinate meaning of meaning, no purpose, other than that the continuation continue until the sun collapses or the final meteor collides. I confess a credo of continuation, she wrote. And she continued, and so in doing, I confess as well a credo of human continuation. We may be the only questioners in the universe, the only ones who have come to understand the astonishing dynamics of cosmic evolution. If we are not, if there are others who know, it's unlikely that we will ever encounter one another. We are also, whether we like it or not, the dominant species and the stewards of this planet. If we can revere how things are and can find a way to express gratitude for our existence, then we should be able to figure out, with a great deal of work and goodwill, how to share the earth with one another and with other creatures, how to restore and preserve its elegance and grace, how to commit ourselves to love and joy and laughter and hope. Those are the words of Ursula Goodenough. So, what calls us as Unitarian Universalists today? Why is this ours to explore, to collaborate on, to commit to? The theologies of McFaig and of Good Enough fit very well into our diversity of understandings of things. And one way that many of you I know have talked to me about, one way to understand how this all fits in with us is to acknowledge that we, Unitarian Universalists, deeply value the findings of science. Our understanding of ecology and our place in the environment have changed and grown over time, of course. Unitarians and Universalists were among the first to explicitly accept and embrace the writings of Charles Darwin and the theory of evolution that grew out of those writings. We also, unfortunately, were some of the first to adapt the ideas of biological determinism and environmental racism based on those pieces of thinking, but we've worked our way through that, I hope. And because of our commitment to scientific understanding, we know ourselves to be evolving beings ourselves with a history and a biology that ties us to all of life. We know that as participants and members of the ecologies in which we live, that we have an impact, collectively and individually, on the life around us and on the ability of the environment to sustain healthy, thriving communities of all kinds. We believe that our understanding that we are interdependent with all of life places on us a responsibility to manage that impact in the service of the thriving of all of life. We look at the devastation wrought by events like Hurricane Helene this past week, and we know that we are called to respond to the immediate needs of our fellow humans. But we also know that the way we live our lives on this planet has a profound impact on the severity and frequency of such events. We watch the ice caps melting and the temperatures rising, with droughts and severe winters and severe summers. And we know that the way we live our lives, the way we travel, the way we shop, the way we eat, the way we build, is having a massive impact on our planetary environment. Earlier this year, I quoted to you 20th century theologian and minister James Luther Adams, who wrote, "All social action is explicitly or implicitly grounded in a theology, and all theology implies a fundamental conception of social action." Our commitment, our intellectual and emotional and religious commitment to understanding that we are a functional part of this interdependent web demands of us that we act individually and collectively here, now in this place, on this earth, in ways that enhance and support the thriving of life, all life, humans, animals, plants, insects, amoebas, and the environment that supports all of them. In the words of Unitarian Universalist theologian Rebecca Parker, we are called to choose to bless the world. Leah Morris and Adam Pod sang to us earlier that we are a part of the eternal sacred circle of life, that we are a spark of a divine and loving wisdom, that our work is to make an art out of bringing health and healing and holiness to the world which we are in love with. This world which is the body of the universal holiness, this world we encounter as we are grounded in the love that centers all we do, all that we strive to be. This is the work that our deepest religious commitments call us to, answering the call of love that is at the center of our values, strengthened and challenged by our reason, and enriched and empowered by our coming together in community. This is what we believe we are called to make our lives work. The healing of our sacred world and the care of all of its creatures, including us and our neighbors. May it be so. Friends, with the call of that work, the call of that love in us, will you rise in body or in spirit as we sing together our closing song, Rising Green? My blood doth rise in the roots of yon oak, her sap doth run in my veins. Boundless my soul, like the open sky, where the stars forever have lain. Where the stars, where the stars, where the stars forever have lain. My hand holds the weavings of time without end, my sight as deep as the sea. Beating my heart sounds the echoes of old, that of love's eternity. That of love, that of love, that of love's eternity. I feel the tides as they answer the moon, rushing on far distant sand. Winging my song is the wind of my breath, and my love blows over the land. And my love, and my love, and my love blows over the land. My foot carries days of the old into new. Our dreaming shows us the way. Wondrous our faith settles deep in the earth, rising green to bring a new day. Rising green, rising green, rising green to bring a new day.
Thank you, Ian. And now for some, some congregational news, and there's quite a bit. But prior to sharing our congregational news with you, I do want to take this opportunity to thank the many people that helped organize and deliver our service this morning. From the folks on our AV team, thank you, to Rob and our hospitality team, great, our greeters and ushers, Jack for his wonderful graphics, the folks who helped set up and take down the tables for our coffee after service, and all of you for being here and continuing to strengthen our community. Thank you. And now for our congregational news. I know you're all anxious, I can tell. From Denise Jansen Eager. First, reaffirming the right to marry, climate change, and increasing penalties for theft and drug traffickers are just 3 of the 10 ballot propositions on your November 5th, 2024 California ballot. But what do they mean? Join UUCOD The Vote on Sunday, October 20th for our California ballot propositions discussion of the issues, along with the pros and cons of each proposition. You may attend either in person or via Zoom, but you must register. There are 2 ways to find out more information and register. If you are in the sanctuary, you can sign up after service on the round table in the lobby. If you are watching from home, look in last Friday's newsletter for the link. We look forward to having a great discussion. See you there. Second, join us on Sunday, November 3rd, as we carry our UUCOD banner in the 37th Annual Palm Springs Pride Parade. We will again have 2 vehicles, so you can either walk or ride. Sign up on the round table in the lobby or check last Friday's newsletter for the online link. For more information, talk with Ruben Gallardo. And coming up soon, pretty amazing, 65th anniversary in 2 weeks on Sunday, October 13th, following the worship service, we will celebrate our 65th anniversary of UUCOD's founding. This is our celebration, so we can all contribute to the potluck. Please bring a favorite dish to share. There are sign-up forms on the lobby table for the potluck, as well as to help to set up tables and chairs. Come and join your community in the fun. Next, Mel would like to make an announcement regarding our choir.
I have a need. How many people enjoy singing today? Come on, I saw you. I saw your little lips moving. Wednesday night every week at 6:30, we have choir sessions. And every now and again on Sundays, we sing. So if you would like to, because we would like you to, join us every Wednesday night and every now and again when we sing. So that's my need.
I was actually thinking she was going to sing to us her need, but apparently that didn't happen. And the last announcement, a reminder that our silent drop-in auction will be Friday, November 8th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and our live in-person auction will be the next day on Saturday, November 9th from 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. This is our biggest fundraiser of the year, so let's all pitch in and donate generously. You have 2 more weeks to donate. See Carol Lavoie on the patio after the service with any questions. And now we will extinguish the chalice. We will now extinguish the chalice as we say these words on the screen above. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
These are the words of my colleague, the Reverend. Before I do that, actually, I want to echo Mel's need, but I want to add onto it a benefit. choir is a wonderful thing to do. They're a beautiful community. They love each other, they have fun together, and they sing together, and it's a really wonderful way to get connected. So that's my plug as an old choir director guy. Choir is a lot of fun, and Jim does a fabulous job with our group. So please give it a try, even if you've never done it before. Everybody is welcome. And second, you may have noticed in the newsletter, I'm going to be out of town for the next 3 days, this afternoon through Wednesday. I'm going to a minister's retreat, the Southwest District Minister's Retreat, what we call in my household, I'm going to go hobnob with my fellow wizards. I'm not in the air balloon from The Wizard of Oz, though, but that's so. But I am still working, so if there are emails, I'll check email and text and that kind of thing, but I won't be present in the building, and I'm really grateful for your support of your ministers being able to work together with their colleagues in all of this work. So I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next Sunday for sure. These are the words of my colleague, the Reverend Peggy Clark. Knowing how quickly the flame of truth may be extinguished, how easily the chalice of fellowship broken, let us be vigilant in faith. Keep peace in our hearts and make care for one another the watchword of our lives together. So our light goes out everywhere into the world. Our light goes out everywhere. Healing and hope are needed. Let us go in peace, my friends, to love and serve this world and one another. May it be so.